think the only non-city spot here is on the porch.
Yeah.
Everybody else is in the shade.
Oh,
Shabbat
well, no,
shalom.
shade is good. I like shade.
Oh yeah, I know, but for you, if you guys are up there.
Are we on? Oh, hello. Shabbat shalom, YouTube. Welcome to my house. All right, let's see if we get the Shabbat shalom Facebook. It's good to see you too. This is Sarah, and we're at my house.
Shabbat shalom.
Nice.
I have a microphone.
That's awesome, actually. Good Shabbos, everyone. Just a couple of ground rules. If you could make sure to either have a mask on or be staying 6 feet away from people not in your house, you're doing beautifully. This is so much better than the last parking lot event. That would be great. If you are 6 feet away, you should also feel free to remove your mask to make yourself comfortable because you're not getting anyone else's water droplets at that distance. But welcome. It's so glad to see everyone with kit. If you lack masks or if someone comes up, we got some more over there by the Sidurim. And we have a Siddur. Good Shabbos. It's so beautiful to see you in my backyard. If you need a restroom in the cottage over here, there is a restroom that you should make use of. And it is just recently cleaned out today by Bethany for you, so it should also be safe, rather than using one in the house. But please don't hesitate. Don't sit there in pain or something. Right over there.
And
Well,
if it helps, I set some hand sanitizer right over there on the steps for anybody who would like to use it.
awesome. That is Sarah's husband. We begin on page 10.
Yeti,
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to one of my favorite places here in Birmingham, our backyard. And this adjacent backyard has recently become kind of a community center as our neighbors Ryan and Nicole have been gardening it. And out there they're growing squash, not too different from my garden, and a lot of other vegetables. And it's been terrific to see people reclaim the outdoors. It's also great to reclaim the outdoors with you. We continue on page 11.
Adonai, Naria, Litzur Yishenu, Nikamafana, Betoda, Bizmira, Naria, Lo, 40 shana akut bedor va'omaram to'e levaveim ve'lo yadu derakai asher nishbati ve'api im yevon el menuchati yadadai dai 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 dai
Sing to Adonai a new song. Sing to Adonai a new song, all the earth. Page 13.
That's page 13. If you can't hear.
Possible. Especially that amazing fan. I love that fan. It's so good.
Shiru Adonai, Shir Hadash, Shiru Adonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Miyom Le'yom Yeshuato, Sapru B'Goyim Kevodo, B'Kol Ha'amim Niflotav, Ki Gadol Adonai, Olam Me'od, Norahu, Al Kol Elohim Hayai, Ki Kol Elohim Amim Elim, Ba'adonai Shamayim Asam, Od Ve'ador, Le'fano, Oseh Tiferet Be'ei Mikdaso, Avul Adonai Mishpechot Amim, Avul Adonai Kavod Ba'oz, Avul Adonai Kevod Shemo, Seyu Mincha, Bo Lechasrotav Vayai, L'Adonai B'Harat Kodesh, Kol Haaretz, V'Goyim Adonai Malach, Aftikon Tevel Baal Timot, Yadid Hamim Be'ei Shari, Yisnechu Hashamayim V'Tagel Haaretz, Yiram Hayam, Omelo, Yalo Sadai, Ve'Kol Asher Bo, Azeranu, Kol Aseyah, Lifnei Adonai Kiva, Lishmor Haaretz, Ishtot Tevel B'Tzedek, Ve'amim Be'emunato, Anai, 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 Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. This psalm oscillates between talking about God's holy place and talking about God and all the earth. It says, the heavens will be glad and the earth rejoice, the sea and its fullness roar, the meadows and everything in them exulting, even the trees of the forest singing praise as Adonai comes to judge the earth with divine justice. So if you find yourself wandering off from the thoughts of the song to the space around you, to the beauty in the trees as the sun comes through the leaves, that also is actually part of what we're supposed to be thinking about. So it's not really you drifting off. It's just you drifting in to the glory all around. Yes, Rambam had a different vision. He had a tradition, but I don't agree with his tradition. Yeah. Do you hold by the Rambam? That's not how it is at UAB for all students. If your eyes lift from the page, you're gonna fail. Yeah, okay, that's what the Rambam's talking about. We're on the bottom of page 16. A light is stored up for the righteous, joy for the just of heart.
Bum biddy bum bum biddy bum bum biddy dum 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 bum bum biddy dum 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 biddy dum biddy dum. Or zaru ala tzadik lishrei lesimcha. Or zaru ala tzadik lishrei lesimcha. Bum biddy dum 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 bum biddy da da da. You're my bum biddy bum. Turn over with me to page 20, Roman numeral. Lift up, exalt our God as we come up to his holy mountain. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu le'har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu le'har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu le'har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu le'har kodsho.
Hi there. I'm sorry I put the beginning on my personal Facebook. Hope you're still tracking. There's Sarah. And there's the peoples. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu le'har kodsho.
Now we have to shoot that vertically because it's yelling at you. Hi again, Facebook.
Yeah, I put that on the wrong. I didn't put it on the synagogue site. I just realized. Oops, missing everyone. Page 21. Bring honor to God, O you children of divine. Please feel free to stand up for this one. This is a particularly good one for moving around, just Keep your distance.
Mizmor leDavid, Havu Adonai b'nei Elim, Havu Adonai kavod va'od, Havu Adonai kevod shemo, Havu Adonai b'ad hakodesh, Kol Adonai alamayim el hakavod irim, Adonai al my Rabbi, Kol Adonai b'Koroai, Kol Adonai be'Hadar, Kol Adonai shomer harazim, shomer Adonai Eloi le'alanon, vayarkinem kimo egel le'elanon, Besirion, Besirion, kimo be'me'emim lai, Kol Adonai potev le'avodesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai holel hayalot, Vayevesov Ye'arod U'Heikalot Kulo Omer Kavod Adonai Lama Yasharim Adonai Melech Leolam Adonai Le'amo Yitein Adonai Yivared et Amo Bashalom. Yai 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 victory lap. Yai yai yai
You may be seated. You didn't want to sing a special song here before the coming. After. As we come to the Chadodi, we turn our whole posture, both our bodies. Oh, goodness, which way will we face here? At the end of the song, let's face the driveway as if someone were entering. And with our posture, also our orientation in the world.
I am the Sabbath bride.
Oh, that's true. We have a Sabbath bride here. This is your first Sabbath since being married.
Yeah.
Mazel tov.
Yeah. I gotta get my money's worth, so I'm gonna wear a wedding dress every Friday for the foreseeable future.
Mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Not yet. Siman tov, yehelanu. Yehelanu, yehelanu. Oh, Mechol Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu. Oh, Mechol Yisrael. Mazel tov. These guys had a beautiful wedding out lakeside, and they showed me that you can beat mosquitoes, which is really cool. So here we are. Alan, thanks for helping out today. Page 23.
Lechadodi likatala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Shamor bezachor b'dibor echad ishmi'anu Elam meyuchad Adonai echad Shemo echad b'shem u'tiferet Ve'letila lechadodi likatala B'nei Shabbat nekabela לקראת שבת לכו ונלחקים מקור הברכה מראש מקדם וסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה להדודי לקראת גאלה בני שבת נקבלה מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קום מצאי הפך הרב לך שבט מימי אבו יחמו עלייך נקרא איכה דודי לקראת גאלה בני שבת נקבלה 24 נהרי Alpakumi lipsi bige Tifartefami al yod benishai be'elalachmi Korva el nafshi Nafshi ge'yala Le'ei adodi Li'kakala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Hitoreri kiva orech Gumi ori, 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 shir da beiri kevod Adonai, Allah yivnikla, Dodi likrat Allah, b'nei Shabbat nikabela, lecha Dodi likrat Allah. B'nei Shabbat nikabela Lo temoshi v'lo tikami Ma tishtochachi u'ma tedemi Ma yeheso anyei ami V'nir neta iral tila lecha dodi B'nei Shabbat nikabela lecha dodi
All the people.
B'nei Shabbat nikabela Nahayulim shesod shosai V'rachanu Yasi Salai Elohai Tos Katan Katan Kala Lecha Dodi Nikabela B'nei Shabbat Nikabela Lecha Dodi Nikabela B'nei Shabbat Nikabela Tifoti Adonai Ta'ariti Al Yadish Bein Parti V'nismecha V'nagila Adori Nikabela B'nei Shabbat Nikabela. Please rise. Lecha dodi nikabela B'nei Shabbat nikabela Oy v'shalom zerevah V'mesikha Totem Turnei Am Segula Moikala Moikala Lecha Dodi Nikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nikabela Lecha Dodi Nikrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nikabela. You may be seated. Page 28 at the bottom. Even in old age, they remain fruitful, still fresh, still bountiful, proclaiming Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no flaw.
We lost J.B. Mazer in the early hours of this morning. Not so many months after we buried Lynette. And it strikes me that I only met them in old age, but in their old age, the two of them had a lot of energy and a lot of love still to give, much like these words that we read here. Even in old age, they remain fruitful, fresh and bountiful, proclaiming that God is upright, my rock in whom there's no flaw. That's a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful thing, actually, to see a life come to completion done well. So on Sunday, we'll gather in whatever way is safe at graveside and pay our last respects to JB. I have him in mind as we sing on page 28 tonight. Page 29, 3 lines from the bottom. In this your house, beautiful in holiness, your testimonies endure, Adonai, for all time. Beauty was important to Lynette. It's something I've thought about. We fundraised in her honor at her funeral to beautify Temple Bethel. Something I've been thinking about a lot. In what ways beauty communicates God. To many people, that's actually the primary way they access God, is in a particularly beautiful setting, piece of art, piece of music. And it's important at our temple too, and I'm thankful to Lynette's work to beautify the place where we pray. Adonai leoret yamim, Adonai leoret yamim, ay ay, Ananai ay ay, Ananai ay ay ay, ay Ananai, Yananai oh, Yananai ay ay, Ananai ay ay ay. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. We have a minyan tonight, so if you would please rise, we can actually say Kaddish together. It was a pleasure to study with some of you on the call last night about minyan and why we wait for these special moments when we have it in its nucleus the entire community. Since we haven't been getting to say Yartzeit, or say Kaddish in honor of people's Yartzeits very often, I want to read out the list at this point earlier in the service as well. This week at Temple Bethel, we recall the following Yartzeits: Jacob Allen, Esther Altman, Bernard Burke, Louis Berman, William Bernstein, Ellie Blausman, Beatrice Bombshell, Ruth Bruchus, Fanny Cohen, Alice Ellison, Joseph Epstein, Elsie Ivinsky, Matilda Franco, Rena Gilman, Jerry Goldstein, Sarah Gordon, Oscar Greenberg, Daniel Green, Robert Griffith, Zella Jacobs, Israel Jaffe, Morris Karp, Jack Cardis, Rita Kapuya Kimmerling, Nathan Cottle, Benjamin Kerman, Samuel Langer, Hortense Levy, Isidore Lichtenstein, Chaya Lichter, Sarah Lupion, Louis Marcus, Meyer Miller, William Miller, Marilyn Novacek, Alicia Rothman, Michael Rice, Donna Reisman, Avram Reznachenko, Ernest Rosemore, Hyman Rosen, Shula Rutkoff, Shirley Sr., Samuel Silverstein, David Simon, Sarah Sorot, Mary Slaughter, Sidney Sokol, I.W. Spielberger, Ruth Stomakin, Mose Temerson, Pearl Tischler, Leon Taranto, Philip Warren, Rachel Weinstein, William Weinstein, Gussie Witt, and Yetta Ziff. If you're saying Kaddish, please join me on page 30 and say, Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah. בעלמא דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי בכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דם אירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen. May the memories be a blessing. You may be seated. Just go closer. Okay, Alan? All right, great. I got to get out from behind the, from so far away from you. I want to share a thought, hopefully a bit abbreviated, from how I'll share it tomorrow morning. Who's coming back tomorrow morning to the live stream? Okay, so it should be abbreviated. Okay, fine. I don't have a good, easily abbreviated version of it, but this is long, so I'll try. This week's Parsha Beha'alotcha features one of the more puzzling, disturbing episodes in the Torah, where the people, having left Mount Sinai, complain that they have no good food to eat. You know, what's this poor food out here in the desert that we have? And God says, okay, you want food? I'll give you food. I'll give it to you to the point. Thank you. That's great. I'll give it to you to the point where it comes out of your nostrils. You've had so much food and you loathe it. And it's a difficult scenario because it's not nice to see Hashem and the Jewish people fighting, and then actually many of the people die, and that's even worse, right? So I want to pose some simple questions. What is this story about the quail and the story about the manna supposed to teach us anyway? It feels like a very Hebrew school sort of story, but I think there's some very adult lessons in it, if you'll stick with it. First off, why is the manna introduced now, at this point in the narrative? Haven't they already been in the desert for a year? It begins by saying at the beginning of the second year, they set out from Mount Sinai. So what have they been eating that whole time, right? Not manna. Manna is introduced now when they leave Mount Sinai. It seems to imply that near Sinai, they were close enough to civilization, they could rely on a pretty standard food supply that you could just get by sending for it, right? Because they weren't growing their own things, they were leaving Egypt. Also fascinating, they camped by Sinai for a year. And it might say, and then also we might ask, why do they die? What's the point of that? It might even sound like they were struck miraculously by a special plague. It says God dealt them a very great blow, Makah gedolah me'od. But I think the text is actually hinting in a different direction from miraculous sort of plague. The text says that all this happened, that the people died while the food was still in their teeth. Almost as if it was the eating that had caused it. The eating itself. Not that the meat was bad, but that they weren't ready for meat. That their bodies rejected this rich food. Is that real? That someone could die upon eating too much rich food? Think of quail, it's quite fatty actually. It's meat. Why instead is Hashem introducing to them something quite simple, a little wafer-like substance from off the ground that comes with the dew, the manna, something very, very simple? Well, what if these people already hadn't been eating all that well for a year? And that's why they say, we're really hungry, Moses. Get us something to eat. We really have to have meat. We can't deal. What if they're actually sort of in a medicinal kind of approach to food, right? Is it possible that a body, having been in starvation mode, could be shocked, overwhelmed by too much rich food? Well, that actually could happen. Maybe the thing that they craved was actually not the thing that was healthy for them at that state. It's been a year, after all. And so instead, God had introduced to them something very, very light, but apparently not as yummy as garlic and onions and all kinds of gourds and melons. Think watermelon. I'm trying to grow some of that over there, like squashes and these sorts of things. And also fish and meat. We really miss all that. And cucumbers. It was lush back in Egypt. And they even say the most extraordinary thing, we ate it there for free. Are you kidding me? For free? Maybe it was brought to you for free, but no, what were you doing all day so that it was brought to you? It wasn't exactly free. It was slave labor for that food. But it was probably better than what they're eating now as recently freed people in the wilderness, right? What is this manna? It doesn't taste like anything. There's no garlic. There's no onions. Bernard, would you make us a meal that had no flavor? Aye. That's not what this year's heavy lifter award has been known to do, right? So you can see that there is a sense of affliction from this deprivation. But if you think about the extraordinary cost they paid, work all day so that you could get your food for free, it can teach an extraordinary lesson. Then there's another hint. At the end of the story, it calls that place Kivrot Ta'ava, the graves of desire. Yes, the root, as Itamar is saying, Ta'ava has this sense of strong sensual desire, even lust, right? We use it in modern Hebrew without any of these connotations. We say bete'avon before a meal, to your appetite. It has an appetitive nature, right? These are the graves of desire. It wasn't, of a miraculous plague or something like that. They desired somehow the wrong thing. Something that wasn't actually any good for them. We might tend to see food as rather benign, but food's actually a crucial and central aspect of life. You're all thinking, when's he going to be done? I got to go eat, because food is more important even than Torah. It's true. Amen kemach in Torah. I agree. It isn't a strange request coming from the people. Can we have some food, please? Like some meat that would really help us get through the wilderness. It's not that they're asking for the wrong thing, right? On the face of it, neither Moses nor God feels they can reject it. So what is wrong with the request? It's really not clear. Well, they do start to give up on the whole mission of heading out towards the promised land and leaving Egypt behind, and they start to idealize the past, right? We once had it really good. Oh man, back in Egypt, the food was amazing. And they start to reminisce about the flavors, right? They start to idealize the past as some preferable, golden era. The nostalgia bug kind of kicks in, right? Sentimentality says it was so good back then, when we happily ate all this food, right? So what's going on for them? I think in some sense, they have allowed their appetite, though a justified appetite, a desire for food, to become the single most important thing. Appetite for them has become the thing that's more important than the mission. And so they forget. They say, let's go back to Egypt. In some sense, they've allowed the value of food to be the maximal value. That should be the decisive value of where we are, where we live, is where there's good food. And I think the whole parsha actually suggests a critique of desire when we desire just one thing. Something we've been teaching through the whole of the Omer, and again in my adult ed class now, in the 49 Shades of Glory, is about how we need to place in balance even incredibly powerful and divine qualities like love with their not opposing properties, but their complementary, paired properties like discipline. And the same goes for discipline. It shouldn't exist on its own. It needs love, right, to be appropriately lived out in practice. And so the problem with their desire is that it was totally unqualified. It was, man, it's worth going to Egypt where we can eat for free because it was so good, because food was so great back there. They maximized just one value. The trouble is, I can think of lots of cases in our life where we maximize just one value. And I want to suggest a thesis tonight that almost anytime that you maximize just one value, it can't be sustained continuously for very long and still be good. Yeah, you could go single-mindedly pursuing one thing for a short time and it might lead to good. But if you keep it up over the months and the years and the decades, it'll become rotten. This was taught to the people also through the lesson of the manna, right? Those who gathered more than they needed that day, it would start to rot on them, quite literally, on the second day, almost miraculously there too. Except for on Shabbat, you could gather for Friday and also for Saturday, and it would keep you through all of Shabbat without rotting. A second miracle. Apparently teaching them to govern their own simple, most basic desire for food. I think in our generations, kashrut teaches us a similar thing as well. You might get somewhere and your mouth starts watering and it looks really good, but actually we put a limit on that appetite because we're going to opt for the kosher version of the same. It means that I eat a lot less meat, right? There's a lot of hamburgers that are just never going to be eaten by Rabbi Stephen Slater that he would love to eat. And not just hamburgers, the best steaks in some of the best restaurants, because they're also not kosher. So constantly I'm checking, and I'm not doing so badly. I think I'm doing okay nonetheless for all of this. Don't look with me with too much pity, Barry. It causes me to put a check on my appetite. That may actually be desirable in its own right, that there are checks on my appetite, right? That seems to be the lesson learned through food out in the desert, almost the first lesson upon leaving Mount Sinai. That it's okay to have boundaries on desire. I think about even in America, almost anything that we choose to single-mindedly maximize can become for us the source of rot. I'll go into it at greater length tomorrow, but if we single-mindedly exercise just the single value, for example, of making money, where does family go? Where does spiritual development go? Where does the need to exercise go? Or just to get out and be in nature doing something as silly as gardening that absolutely can't pay for itself by the hour? Just no chance, right? I'm not saving any money gardening. What am I doing in the garden? I'm refreshing my soul after doing too much, communicating work. I'm just getting hands in dirt, right? And enjoying the whole thing. It's so important, not just money. We could take good values, right? Like unqualified, and money is a good thing, actually. We could take unqualifiedly good things. We could do it with home ownership. We could do it with justice. Where if you maximize it for too long, even safety, which is really of a moment. I'll go into that one. Even maximizing safety for too long. And I know not everyone will agree, and that's okay. Rational people can totally rationally disagree on this. Even maximizing safety for too long or in too high a degree is a bad idea. It's gotten out of balance. I'll take the example that's easier to prove. American children used to play in the street with the kids down the street. And then we decided it was too dangerous for them to play in the street. The neighbors didn't always treat them right. Sometimes kids get hit by cars. You can't play in the street. You have to play indoors. Do not go out. There's a whole generation of kids who are paying the price in very poor mental health because they never took risks in running down the street with other kids. They never had a backyard where mom and dad just left them alone and didn't really know what they were doing. They just knew that they would be okay and they would be back for dinner. Where kids would take risks and therefore learn to manage situations on their own instead of always reaching out for a helping hand from a more powerful figure. We did people no favors by guaranteeing that they were totally safe. That was a bad idea. And it would be possible also to maximize safety too much, even with the pandemic, and say require businesses to remain closed down beyond the point where they can't come back from a temporary shutdown. Not telling you what the timing is, that depends on medical guidance. I have no read on that situation. I just know you cannot maximize any one good value for too long. Same as these people did when they legitimately asked for food. I think that's the lesson that the Parsha is coming to teach us. Whatever our value is, we need to hold it in tension with complementary values that help give it structure, just as discipline must give structure to love. just as mercy must complement justice, such as Brian Stevenson's new book indicates, and justice must also inflect mercy. Neither should be championed exclusively on their own, and that may help us with other problems in our country at this time. So this week, I want to bless you tonight to not be afraid to do without something that you formerly thought you just had to have, like the people thought they had to have meat. I want to bless you that you should find a place of balance between multiple competing values that you feel good about. And I want to bless you also that you should give something away, trusting that as we become free from the things that we own, actually we experience true freedom. Shabbat Shalom. All right, there's an interesting halacha about how once we say Barfu, we've brought in Shabbat, even if it's early. So I see that sun about to set over the side here, and I'm going to say goodbye to our friends on Facebook. We have another Minyan Plus over here as we head into Barfu, so that I don't have to push it later. You can daven at home. It's terrific to have a Minyan here. I'm just going to stop the live feeds. Good Shabbos.